Welcome to Anfield Wire. Today, we're breaking down the latest Liverpool transfer news, predicted lineup versus Nottingham Forest, and Trent Alexander-Arnold updates. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the latest Liverpool updates. Liverpool transfer news as Brazilian newspaper reveals truth about Allan claim. The latest Liverpool transfer news and rumors as a new report emerges about the Reds' interest in Palmeiras player Allan, and there is a speculative report about Lennart Karl. Despite reports to the contrary, Palmeiras apparently is not in the process of agreeing to sell right-sided midfielder Allan to Liverpool. It was suggested by Brazilian outlet The Football earlier this week that the 21-year-old could move to Anfield this year, with the Reds keen to structure a deal so that he moves to Anfield next summer. However, IG Esportes claims that the report was wide of the mark, with Palmeiras only likely to enter negotiations to sell Allan following the conclusion of the World Cup. Allan, 21, has emerged as one of the most exciting young players in Brazil, and Palmeiras has already rejected big offers for him from Napoli and Zenit St. Petersburg. Palmeiras coach recently pleaded with his club not to sell Allan earlier than it absolutely has to. "These are players who give us a lot of trouble," boss Abel Ferreira said. "What saddens me is that, when they're ready, you have to sell them. We had to sell Endrick, Estevao, Vida Reis, and now Allan." Palmeiras, at this moment, is in a position to choose when it can and cannot sell players. "That's why we work together with the finance department and the board. The coach is much more than just what happens on the pitch." Meanwhile, it is claimed that Liverpool could look to try and sign Bayern Munich starlet Lennart Karl, who is also on Arsenal's radar. Karl, 18, is among the highest-rated youngsters in world soccer, and in truth, any suggestion that Bayern could agree to sell him seems a bit far-fetched. Karl is contracted to Bayern until 2028, but reports in Germany suggest that an extension to 2030 has been triggered, coincidentally, today. Today, February 22nd, is Karl's 18th birthday, which means he is eligible to sign a longer contract under FIFA regulations. The report by Football Talk claims that Liverpool's apparent interest in Karl comes as the club continues to plan for life after Mohamed Salah, who could leave Anfield at the end of the season. Salah is contracted to Liverpool until 2027, having signed a 2-year extension last year, but he has shown significant signs of decline this season, and is expected to be the subject of interest from clubs in the Saudi Pro League. Liverpool predicted team versus Nottingham Forest as Arne Slot makes 2 changes. Liverpool faces Nottingham Forest at the City Ground on Sunday, targeting a win that will see the team move level on points with Chelsea in the Premier League table. Liverpool has no fresh injury concerns heading into today's game against Nottingham Forest, which should make Arne Slot's team selection at the City Ground fairly straightforward. The Reds remain without long-term absentees Alexander-Isak, Connor Bradley, and Giovanni Leone, while Wataru Endo will be sidelined for some time, and Jeremy Frimpong is also not available. Last week, Isak took a positive step in his recovery from the leg break he suffered in December as he returned to the training field, but he is still some way away from a return to first-team action. Considering Liverpool's recent good form, the Reds have won 4 of their last 5 games in all competitions. Slot is unlikely to veer too far away from the group of players that has helped to turn the team's season around. Even during bad times, Slot is reluctant to tinker too much, so fans can expect that he will name a very similar side to the one that lined up in Liverpool's last top-flight game. It's been 11 days since Liverpool inflicted a first home defeat of the season on Sunderland, and that performance was one of the team's most impressive of the season. Against Forest, Dominik Szoboszlai will be available for a Premier League game for the first time since the 2-1 loss to Manchester City earlier this month, in which he was sent off, so he will be back in the side, perhaps at the expense of Alexis Mac Allister. At right-back, Curtis Jones could continue after an impressive showing against Brighton in the FA Cup, and he would be starting in place of Endo, who lined up against Sunderland but picked up a serious ankle injury during the game. Those could be the only 2 changes that Slot makes, although a possible third could come at left-back, where Milos Kerkez and Andy Robertson continue to vie for the starting spot. Kerkez has started far more league games than Robertson this season, but Robertson's showing against Sunderland could tip the balance in his favor. Alisson, Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate are certain starters in defense, while Ryan Gravenberch, Florian Wirtz, Mohamed Salah, Cody Gakpo and Hugo Ekitike should round out the starting 11. Liverpool warned about one Nottingham Forest player who is going all the way to the top. We spoke to Nottingham Live reporter Sarah Clapson as Liverpool hoped to flatten Forest's new manager bounce. The Reds spread the love with a 4th win in 5 in all competitions against Brighton on Valentine's Day, but it remains just 2 in 5 in the league for a Liverpool side languishing in 6th. Arne Slot's side need to start consistently picking up points if they are to salvage what's left of the Premier League season and secure Champions League football for another year, but their next game sees them make the trip to a Nottingham Forest side looking over their shoulder towards the relegation zone. Forest's 0-0 draw with bottom feeders Wolverhampton Wanderers last week was the final nail in Sean Dyche's coffin, with mercurial owner Evangelos Marinakis pulling the trigger and replacing the former Everton boss with ex-Wolves manager Vitor Pereira. Pereira saved the West Midlands side from relegation last season but was sacked after a disastrous start to the new campaign in which Wolves only collected 2 points from their first 10 games. His start to life at the City Ground has been explosive, however, with Forest romping to a 3-0 victory against Fenerbahce in Istanbul on Thursday night. With Forest in 17th and just 3 points above the drop, the pressure is on both sides to pick up 3 points. The Echo spoke to intrepid Nottinghamshire Live reporter Sarah Clapson to get the opposition perspective after watching her side triumph in Turkey. Let's not beat about the bush, 4 managers in one season is unprecedented. Are you backing Marinakis or do questions need to be asked? No one at Forest would suggest having 4 managers in one season is ideal. But if you take each of the sackings individually, there are specific reasons around each one. Behind-the-scenes factors and his outspoken comments in a couple of press conferences did for Nuno Espirito Santo. Ange Postecoglou was the wrong appointment, as he has now admitted himself, and you could argue Marinakis acted swiftly to correct that. Sean Dyche was seen as a safe pair of hands. Initially, it seemed as though that would prove to be the case, but recent results and performances left Forest staring down the barrel of relegation. It was only one game, and Forest will certainly not be getting carried away, but how they played against Fenerbahce on Thursday night showed the right call was made to replace Dyche. There is still a lot of work to be done in the Premier League, and whether Vitor Pereira gets the club over the survival line remains to be seen, but Forest will now approach that challenge with optimism and positivity. Even before Thursday, plenty of Forest fans would have argued the club have a better chance of staying up with Pereira than had Dyche stayed in charge. The season has been a mess, though. It can still be rescued, but being in this position in the first place comes with a sense of frustration for Forest as there was such excitement about what this term might hold. Could you have foreseen being in this position at the start of the season? What's gone wrong? It was clear all was not well with Nuno at Forest as pre-season started. But going back to the end of last season, it was almost unthinkable the campaign would pan out like this. After finishing 7th and qualifying for Europe for the first time in 3 decades, this season was supposed to be about using that platform as a springboard. No one thought it was going to be easy, and replicating the 2024-25 campaign was always going to be a huge challenge, particularly with the addition of European fixtures, but a relegation battle was certainly not what was expected. To build on last season, Forest needed stability. Clearly, with 4 managers, they have not had that. Add in the fact there are question marks over Edu's involvement since his appointment in the summer, along with a number of the summer signings not making the desired impact, and you end up with Forest being where they are. Was change the only option, or do you have any residual concerns that Sean Dyche may have been the best bet to avoid the drop? Anyone who has watched Forest in recent weeks, prior to Thursday, would find it difficult to argue Forest had more of a chance of staying up had they stuck with Dyche. Forest were going backwards. He oversaw some fine results early on in his tenure, but 2 points from the games against Crystal Palace, Leeds United and Wolverhampton Wanderers was pretty damning. Performances had been poor, too. Overall, the questions against him were stacking up, from team selections to tactics and most other things in between. Who are Forest's key players this season? Elliot Anderson has been one of the standout players of the season. His form was a bit patchy at times under Dyche, but his quality has never been in doubt, as he demonstrated against Fenerbahce. Ibrahim Sangar, alongside him in midfield, is key for Forest, too. The pair of them get through a lot of work and can make Forest tick. The same applies to Morgan Gibbs-White. He hasn't necessarily had a vintage campaign, but he has the ability to pop up when Forest need him. Elliot Anderson has been linked with a lot of top clubs in search of a number 6, but what is his best position? That's one of the great things about him, he has so many strings to his bow, he can play in many different positions. Having Sangar alongside him allows him to get forward and get involved at the top end of the pitch as a number 8, but he could pretty much play anywhere. He'd probably do a job in goal, if needed. The exciting thing is he can get even better as there is room for improvement. There is no doubt he is going all the way to the top, though. He is some player. Vitor Pereira got off to a great start against Fenerbahce, dominating despite having less possession. Do you think he'll go for a similar game plan against Liverpool? Pereira made a real statement by naming a strong lineup on Thursday night. It would have been easy for him to rest some players with Sunday in mind. In that sense, he backed up his words with actions. He said he was going there to win, and he proved it by naming pretty much a first-choice 11. It was a strong performance, too, with Forest positive and on the front foot from the off. It will be a completely different test against Liverpool, of course, but Pereira will want to build on Thursday's display. He will want to get off to a good start in the league, especially being at home, but defensive discipline will also be important. Where will the key battles take place this weekend? Midfield will be a key battleground, I think. As mentioned, Sangar and Anderson have been working well together, so they will be looking to give Forest a foothold in the game. After that, it will be about whether Forest are able to make the most of any chances that come their way. That was a problem under Dyche, but Thursday's win should have boosted players' confidence no end. What's your score prediction? Forest have generally been able to get themselves up for games against the bigger clubs this season, and Pereira will be eager to make a positive start in the league. I'll go 1-1. Liverpool lineups for Nottingham Forest as Florian Wirtz and Dominik Szoboszlai decisions made. The Echo's Liverpool writers pick their teams for Sunday's trip to Nottingham Forest. Liverpool continue their pursuit of Champions League qualification when they are entertained by Nottingham Forest on Sunday afternoon. Arne Slot is yet to win against Forest in his 3 tries as Reds boss, and the hosts will have new manager Vitor Pereira in charge for his first Premier League match, having succeeded Sean Dyche to become their 4th coach of the campaign. The Echo, as always, will be on the road with the Premier League champions and at the City Ground to provide our comprehensive matchday coverage. And as part of the build-up to this fixture, our Reds writers Paul Gorst and Ian Doyle have picked their lineups. Paul Gorst. Having shown what he can do once more as a midfielder against Brighton last weekend, this is not the game for Dominik Szoboszlai to be shunted in at right back. The Hungary captain moves into the engine room for me, and Joe Gomez returns to the side for a more circular peg in that round hole on the right side of the defense. Szoboszlai partners a returning Ryan Gravenberch, who should have a spring in his step, having sat out that win over the Seagulls last week. Curtis Jones and Alexis Mac Allister can wait in the wings as high-quality reserves on the bench. Further forward, Florian Wirtz can occupy the number 10 role, and Cody Gakpo and Mohamed Salah can flank the Germany international on the left and the right, respectively. Hugo Ekitike leads the line, having missed most of the game last week. The France international, hopefully, should be fully recharged and ready to go once more. This is Liverpool's first game in 8 days, whereas Forest were in Turkey on Thursday night. They have to make that count. Ian Doyle. Nottingham Forest is rarely the most agreeable of venues for Liverpool. And it won't be any more accommodating on Sunday, with the home side entering a new era following the sacking of Sean Dyche and appointment of Vitor Pereira in charge. What, then, is Reds boss Arne Slot to do? There is scope for a bit of change with some players having been rested last weekend. But there won't be any messing about in goal, which remains Alisson Becker. Milos Kerkez can continue at left back with Ibrahima Konate partnering skipper Virgil van Dijk at centre back. And this game calls for Joe Gomez at right back for a bit of defensive solidity. In midfield, Ryan Gravenberch can be reunited with Alexis Mac Allister in the double pivot. And I'd have Dominik Szoboszlai as the number 10. That means Florian Wirtz is pushed out to the left flank, with Mohamed Salah on the right and Hugo Ekitike returning down the center. My team, 4-2-3-1 Alisson, Gomez, Konate, Van Dijk, Kerkez, Gravenberch, Mac Allister, Salah, Szoboszlai, Wirtz, Ekitike. Trent Alexander-Arnold's Liverpool regret, Anfield return and problems at Real Madrid. Trent Alexander-Arnold hasn't had the season he would have hoped for after departing Liverpool for Real Madrid last summer. Trent Alexander-Arnold's departure from Liverpool last summer was one of the more contentious farewells in the annals of the Premier League. Alexander-Arnold, 26, left Anfield for Real Madrid, having won 2 Premier League titles, a Champions League, FA Cup, 2 League Cups, Club World Cup and UEFA Super Cup. Yet sections of the Anfield faithful mercilessly booed the gifted right-back shortly after he had made his intentions to leave the club public after months of speculation. The player's ongoing silence amid strong rumors prior to his stunning announcement was perhaps not forgotten in haste. Madrid ultimately paid £10 million to Liverpool to secure Alexander-Arnold at the start of last summer. Yet his dream move to the Spanish capital has been underwhelming so far. Alexander-Arnold's regret. Upon leaving Liverpool, Alexander-Arnold revealed that he was empathetic to those supporters who failed to see his reasoning for leaving his boyhood side. His statement was tinged with regret, acknowledging his exit would cause waves of anger and disappointment. I completely understand the feelings that go with that, leaving Liverpool, and I've felt it myself, so I completely understand that the news will disappoint a lot of people, will anger people, it will make them upset, he said after making his decision to join Madrid. Obviously that went into the decision as well. It's something you don't want to do. You don't want to ever have these moments where you feel like you're letting a lot of people down, you're disappointing a lot of people. But I've had to make a decision for me, it's as simple as that. I know the news will take a bit of time to set in and people won't be happy and they'll be disappointed. At the end of the day, you can be angry and hurt at me, but I just hope that the lads, the rest of the team, the staff, everyone else is able to feel how good a season this has been. Anfield return. Alexander-Arnold perhaps didn't foresee that he would return to his boyhood club so quickly. Liverpool hosted Madrid in the Champions League in November, just months after he left, and the reception was perhaps all too predictable. The fullback began the night on the bench for Los Blancos. Shortly after Liverpool had taken a 1-0 lead, the crowd was in full flow and they further exercised their vocal cords when Alexander-Arnold came off the bench with 10 minutes remaining. The former Anfield hero was largely greeted by boos as he made his way onto the pitch. Fans then made a point of singing about club legend Steven Gerrard and Alexander-Arnold's replacement at right-back, Connor Bradley, in a dig to their former favourite. Real Madrid struggles. While Alexander-Arnold's transfer has generated headlines, his performances on the pitch have been less spectacular. The right-back had to contend with a rapid managerial change after bedding into his new surroundings, with Xabi Alonso ruthlessly replaced by Alvaro Arbeloa just 6 months into the job on the pitch. Alexander-Arnold has rotated with Dani Carvajal for the right-back berth. In September, just weeks into his Madrid career, the English international suffered a major blow when he was sidelined for around 6 weeks through injury. Spanish media have also been critical of his performances too, with Marca describing him as clueless and insubstantial. In December, he was forced off the pitch with injury again, during what was his best performance for the club against Athletic Club, a match in which he gained his first La Liga assist. Rumors were rife that Alexander-Arnold had even been told to seek out a new club this summer, with Manchester City and Bayern Munich thought to be interested. But those claims have subsequently been shut down. After his first start for over 2 months last weekend, where he registered an assist in the 4-1 win over Real Sociedad, Arbeloa claimed Alexander-Arnold's future was, in fact, bright. Working with Alexander-Arnold, he strikes me as a very intelligent guy, who understands the game very well, and quickly grasps what we want from him, Arbeloa told reporters after Saturday's game. He's not the typical fullback who's always going to be out wide, he can also play centrally. We want players to be able to interchange positions. We're lucky to have a player like that. It remains a campaign he'll likely want to put behind him, but remaining injury-free and continuing to impress Arbeloa will add some gloss to it. Whether it'll be enough to make Thomas Tuchel's World Cup squad is another matter, though.